So first, let me welcome all of you for this Zoho event. And before I get into the presentation, let me get started with the question. So we have a lot of options in the market today. We have open sources, we have free software, and then we have hardware getting cheaper, storage getting cheaper. So with all these options in place, do you think cloud can be profitable? Can a cloud vendor make profit today? Let me tell a little dirty secret, which people may not have said to you. Cloud is not profitable. In fact, I have a lot of data to share to substantiate that cloud is not really profitable. And one of the data is right there in front of you. These are top cloud vendors out there in the market. And each one of them are called so-called leaders in their respective market segment. Box, Workday, Zendesk, NetSuite, Jive, each one of them are so-called market leaders, and none of them are making any profit. In fact, the poster child of cloud, Salesforce, is making even deeper losses. So what does that mean? So here, right here in front of you, data is available. All the top cloud vendors are making losses, which means cloud is not profitable. And remember, this Salesforce has been there in the market for the last 15 years, poster child, not being able to make profit. Not 1 year, 2 years, 15 straight years, not attain profitability. And numbers don't lie. These are IPO companies, publicly available data. 8 top leaders, cloud leaders, 40 combined quarters, 0 profit. And we used to joke this as, these are post-IPO companies. We call them as post-IPO non-profits. In fact, we have a domain, post-IPO-nonprofits.com, and these data are available in the public. I mean, these are public companies. And in fact, we joked them, we had a billboard right there in 101 highway, and we got tremendous response. We said that these are post-IPO non-profits, donations are accepted. And that was a tremendous response for that ad. So that's the state of cloud today in this market. Well, I'm getting serious now. So let's talk something serious. Do you mean that, does that mean cloud startups starting today, can they run a successful business? Can a cloud startup starting today, can they make profits out of the business? The answer profoundly is yes. Zoho is profitable. In fact, Zoho has been, Zoho.com started probably 9 years back in 2005. And we attained profitability in just 2-3 years. In few years, we attained profitability. And after that, we have been growing year on year. In fact, we are growing faster than ever before today. So there's the one side, there's top leaders, poster child, top vendors making losses. And out here, we are Zoho, profitable in few years. So there's a huge contrast, this extreme ends, both of us are on extreme ends. How did this happen? What is the secret sauce? What is the secret sauce for Zoho's productivity? The key secret sauce for Zoho's productivity, Zoho's profitability is productivity. So everyone knows what is productivity. It's a revenue per employee per year. At Zoho, really, we are obsessed about productivity. In fact, if you go and really ask any of our product teams, they would be, they know what is the productivity of their product. They are really obsessed about the productivity. They want to increase the productivity of the product. So that's the fundamental of productivity, and we'll get deeper into this session on how to attain that kind of productivity, what we are doing in Zoho. I just want to share the experience. But before I get into the details, let's have a look at the IT landscape in terms of productivity in India. So the Indian IT and IT-enabled services contributes roughly 5% to our overall GDP, probably 80 billion US dollars. And the average revenue for these service companies is roughly 40,000 US dollars, which means these service companies cannot run their business in US. And Raju gave a glimpse of this in his presentation. He said, like, Google's productivity is 1.3 million US dollars, and Microsoft productivity is 700,000 US dollars. And these companies are able to make so much profit. And the interesting thing is, combined Google and Microsoft, just two companies, revenue is higher than the whole IT company's revenue in India. That's a fact. Google does more than probably 60 billion US dollars. Microsoft is 70 billion, more than 70 billion. Combined, it's more than 80 billion what we contribute from IT-enabled services. Just two companies. And we boast ourselves as IT is the destination, India is the destination for IT, and these two companies are more productive, which means that they are really obsessed about productivity. The fundamental reason is India, we settle for lower productivity, thinking people are cheap, because we have plenty of people available out here. And what we do, since a lot of people are available, we just throw people at a problem. And at Zoho, we value each human has their own value, has their own competency, and they have to be pushed further. That's exactly what we are doing at Zoho. And we don't think people are cheap. In fact, if any of the team guy comes with a problem, we just figure out what is the root cause of the problem. It could be a technology problem, it could be engineering problem, it could be the way you're doing the development, it could be the development methodology problem. But the last thing would be adding people to the team. But the general mindset is, hey, here's a problem, throw 5 people or 10 people at the problem, solved. That calls for low productivity. That's why we are at 40,000 US dollars, while companies are doing 1.3 million per employee revenue per year. So at Zoho, in fact, we are at some products, we are as good as kind of productivity what Salesforce has. Few products are, when we have higher productivity levels, higher revenue per employee than Salesforce. So let me get into the crux of the presentation, how to achieve better productivity. So we said, hey, we are lagging here, and Zoho, we have figured out on our Zoho way of doing things, and how to achieve this better productivity. So let me start with this question. So this couple of weeks back, the LinkedIn founder, Reid Hoffman, gave a very good presentation at Stanford as part of the Y Combinator series, how to get a startup started. So in this, one of the slides in his presentation used, where should I locate my startup? So here is a great tower standing in center of the San Francisco Bay Area. And this is going to be the headquarters of one of the largest cloud vendor. It looks amazing. This is a 700 million US dollars lease building. It's going to have 61 floors, 1.4 million square feet, just to house 4,000 employees who can benefit this $700 million Bayview. And here's another company, another cloud vendor, who does equally good software, in fact, better software, and who has a location, who has an office in a location called Tenkasi, which is a tier 3 city in India, which is 100 kilometers from Madurai. And any guesses on these two companies? Obviously. Which is the first one? Oh, you guys are plugged into it. Okay, cool. So you're right. The first one is the Salesforce headquarters, and the second one is the Zoho's office at the Tenkasi location. Okay, and this is the backside view of from our office, and so the Tenkasi itself gives us the rental is 25 times more than an office building out there in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, 25 times, right? And so that's the So coming back to what did Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn founder, what answer he gave? Where should I locate my startup? So this gentleman said that, hey, you guys have to locate your startup in Silicon Valley, because that's where the real action is happening. That's where the real thing is happening. And you should be really aligned to that real action. And you can get the greatest of the greatest engineers, smartest of the smartest engineers out there, which is bullshit. We are proving it wrong. At Zoho, we are proving it wrong. And I'm sure many of the people inside the room are trying to prove it wrong. We have our companies running in India, right? In fact, this Tenkasi office, right? This Tenkasi office doesn't have any maintenance project. In fact, we ship a couple of products from this Tenkasi office, and we do end-to-end work for these couple of products, end-to-end work in Tenkasi. From product conceptualization to product management to engineering to technology to development to support, marketing, everything is done in Tenkasi office, end-to-end. So which means it's not a lip service. It's not just like, oh, throwing some maintenance project to Tenkasi. Which means it is indeed possible to have your business up and running in Tier 3 city, and yet you compete globally and have a world-class product shipped from places like Tenkasi. It may not be Tenkasi, it could be something else, Tier 3 city out there in your own states, right? So it is indeed possible. So, and another reason is, you don't have this kind of traffic chaos, right, in cities like Tenkasi, right? So your developers can be at peace, right? They can be really, they don't have to commute for 2 hours, 3 hours, right? One is the community time is saved, so which means your developer productivity you gain more developer productivity, and they can really focus. They can spend that 2 hours, 3 hours quality time at work or at the family, not stuck in the traffic, right? And this is our Tenkasi office photo taken on a Tuesday evening, 5 o'clock. This is how the front. This is actually highway kind of thing. This is how it looks. So you don't have absolute traffic, right? And guys commute like 15 kilometers in like 5-10 minutes. Take your car and just go for coffee, go to your home and come back. And so that's the only one aspect of productivity. Just choosing the location itself can 25 times, right? So imagine the dollar you're paying to Salesforce is actually going to the $700 million Bayview. So that's the operation side. That's the one part of the operation side, just location alone. So there are different ways of really, you can be more productive. I'm just going to touch all the departments. Okay, so we saw the operation side, location. So let's get into the technology, how we can be more productive. So does it make sense to pay this today? I took a screenshot from the website, Microsoft Office, $400. So it used to, it may had made sense in those early days, early 2000s, 90s, right? When PCs are like $2,000, $3,000, you shell out $400 to Microsoft Office. But just one software cannot, today you get a PC for $400. Why should you pay, why the hell you have to pay a software $400? Just one software you have to pay $400, desktop software, right? And let us step back and look at the hardware industry. So everyone would have owned this 3210, your favorite Nokia 3210. So I remember buying this phone in early 2000 for more than 10,000 rupees. And today you get a Xiaomi Redmi phone for 6,000 rupees. I don't want to get into the smartphone and stuff like that, touch and all this thing, everyone knows. But let's take the speed and the storage itself, right? So last 10 years we come a long way. And in fact, do you know that those days, the late 80s, the mainframes used to cost few millions. And today, if you adjust the inflation, it will cost probably like 15 million US dollars. And the iPad which we use is actually can compute more power, can compute faster than these older mainframes. Right? If you really look at the speed, and that's how we have evolved in hardware. The cost of computing and storage has become really cheaper, right? And software is following that hardware trend. And there's no shortcut here. It's like the commoditization is really moving up the stack. So this is what a typical hosting would be, typical stack would be in those early days, to early 2000 kind of thing, where you have the hardware, you will have a Windows Server OS running, and on top of that you have Oracle, and then you have the IIS web server, .NET, and then on top of it you have the business logic, your business application running. And now, we don't use Windows servers, we don't use Windows OS hosting. At Zoho we use CentOS, which is a Linux flavor. And we don't use Oracle, we use MySQL and Postgres. Only moron companies will use Oracle today, seriously. Salesforce uses Oracle, by the way. So, remember the dollars you're paying to Salesforce is actually going, some part is going to your $700 million Bayview and something going to Oracle. You're not actually paying to their software, you're paying to the buildings and the oracles, right? And you don't use IIS web server. You have a lot of open source options. You have a lot of web servers. There's Apache and a lot of web servers. We use a lot of open source web servers. And you don't use .NET, you don't use Tails and Python. And Microsoft getting that, this news, they're getting that. Satya is getting it. That's why .NET has been open source recently. Right? They're getting, they are feeling the pressure. And on top of that is business logic. So this is how the stack has really evolved. You could see that really you have the LAMP stack. Okay, technical world knows that the LAMP stack, the Linux, Apache kind of LAMP stack, which is open source. So you have plenty of open sources, plenty of options today, and you don't have to really buy Oracle software to run your database. So the advice, the technology advice, this is one of the productivity technique we use, right? You build your software on a frugal stack, and you buy software from vendors who run on a frugal stack, right? So you have to know how this vendor, if you're really buying a software from companies like Salesforce, you have to understand like how these guys are running. Is this fashionable guys having buildings at San Francisco kind of thing that calls them as a real fashion, or really they are really want to pass on this benefit to the customers? That's a question you have to, each startup really has to ask, right? So so remember, I mean, it doesn't make sense for us to shell out the $400 what we are paying for Microsoft Office today. And neither it doesn't make sense to shell out to companies like Salesforce when they're really running on Oracle, right? So that's a technology part. There's a lot to share in technology, but for time limit, I'll just take some snippets on different sections. So let's get into the product development. So we firmly believe in Zoho that 90% of the developer time is spent on something adds very little value to the customers. Only the 10% of the software developers' time adds real value to the customers. And you may be running in whatever stack you call. You may be running Java or a Python or a Hadoop or a Memcache or a Cassandra or a Redis or a Zookeeper or a Ember or a Angular, whatever technology you use, customer doesn't care about it. All they care about is the business logic. All they care about is the function, what they're using. All they care about is what they see, right? So which means you really have to really cut the developer's time. The mundane task, what they do, what the boilerplates they're doing, what is the trivial stuff they're doing. You have to really you have to really invest on the right application framework, which suits you. I mean, Ember would, for example, at Zoho, right, one of the team would be using Ember, one of the team would be using Angular, or one of the team would be using some of the open source stack. And we have our own open source framework developed in-house called, internal code word we have is called Mickey. So someone would be using that. So, I mean, we leave it to the team, but you need to really figure out which right application framework we'll use. This translates to productivity. So this is not just a technology decision, right? And we want the developers really focus on the business logic, and you really cut the crap. You really slim down the baggage. You really remove all the baggage from the developers. Let the developers focus on real business value, business logic, which really the customer cares. All this trivial stuff, all the boilerplates has to be removed from the developer's plate. So, and that's the important thing is you need to really choose the development methodology which really suits your company, which really suits your team. There's different methodologies out there in the market. I mean, you know, waterfall model or agile, or I don't want to get into those details. So what we use at Zoho is a very iterative model. So this uniform across all the teams, fail fast concept, which we touched in the product culture. So it is, you really do something, right? Get the output, get the feedback, and do the changes. I mean, loop goes. And in a more understandable terms, this is what you do. I'm sorry about it. I couldn't resist it. So I come from a technology background, so I wrote a technical way of saying this. So till you get perfection, till you go for perfection, you design, you start with the design, you code, you collect feedback, do changes, rather than just building it for a long time, and then you ship a product and then you get disappointed. Right? Have your disappointment as early as possible. So this really universally worked for us. In fact, I mean, this is one of the key, this thing is iterative process is one of the key learning. It's over experience. In fact, we undergo a waterfall model, whatever you say, right? All the failed thing we attempted, we failed, and we figured out this is what is working for us. And really build dictums around what you do. That's what we are doing. Build convictions. And I want to share some of the sample dictums what we follow inside could be really benefit for you all. This may get technical, but I just want to say how important it is. So we have a dictum called do not do any serious work on the user thread. What does that mean is when a user clicks something on his browser on a cloud software, don't do anything, but while still you return your response, don't do anything on the user thread, which means don't do some heavy processing and make the user wait kind of thing. For example, let me give an example. Take a spreadsheet application, online spreadsheet application. So we have a product called Zoho Sheet. So when user clicks a spreadsheet, you go at the back end, you calculate all the functions, all the calculations, and user has to wait, and then you return the response. Rather, what we are saying is, pre-compute everything and keep it ready to serve it to the user. So what user sees is an HTML page. So you can calculate that and generate HTML to keep it ready and serve it to the user. When this looks so trivial, so obvious, but this calls for a complete design change, complete mindset change in how you do the software. And this way you can be more faster than Microsoft Excel product, because Excel, right? You open Excel, you build, it reads all the functions, does all the calculation, and just renders. And the cloud world, actually, you don't have to do all this thing. Everything can be pre-computed, kept it ready, and keep it ready to serve it to the user. When the user clicks it, instantly you send it back. So this kind of a small dictum, but universally we follow, judicially we follow across the team, across the company. And this kind of conviction, we got it over time. And do not trust input from this. It's a trivial security thing. We take it for granted. But this one-line dictum actually helps us in terms of you safeguard yourself from SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and unauthenticated use. I can get into technical thing. But so the point I'm trying is be driven by this kind of convictions, be driven by this kind of dictums, and cut the developer time and pass on the productivity benefits to the customers. In fact, we have a lot of this kind of dictums. I'm going to reserve all those dictums for tomorrow. We are going to hear how this kind of very nice things, what we do, will be reserved for tomorrow. We are going to get deeper into how we do the products. So that's about the product development. We saw the technology, the operation, location, product development. Let's get into something interesting, sales and marketing. So many companies adopted this efficiency of efficiency of software as service, but they followed the old sales model. So what I mean by that is, so the bottom layer of this, in this image, you can see the traditional companies where they had an on-premise, or traditional companies where they had a very fat engineering team and obviously fat sales and marketing team. And then you had the avatar of cloud, where you really slimmed down the engineering team, and we had a small engineering team. Because you don't have to have a lot of engineers pertaining to each client, right? You rather put a software in the cloud and you serve it to all the clients. So you have a slimmer engineering team. But companies like Salesforce still retain the old sales model, right? So there's a push versus pull model. What do you mean by push versus pull? Push is the Salesforce way of doing things, where you have, in fact, you sell the product and then the customers really try the product, right? But actually pull is you really make the customers try the product and then buy from you. The customers really try the product and then buy it from you. And software is bought, not sold. And as we have already seen, using the push methodology. In fact, all these companies who was reporting losses and called leaders in their own segment have a push strategy. In fact, Salesforce, I really started with the pull strategy, but they really moved into the push mechanism. They have very heavy sales driven. They become a sales driven organization. And the interesting question is, are these tech companies selling software or sales companies selling technology? That's exactly what's happening. You spend on sales. And sales guys are not cheap. Everyone knows it, right? So which means that, I mean, it's like it's like banks saying that, hey, we are losing money, but you can trust us. Please put your money in our bank. That's kind of thing. These guys are really losing money. They are not making profit. And because these guys are sales guys, sales companies. And if you really look at the sales and marketing spending with R&D in this company like Salesforce and all, it will be typically 5 times or 6 times than what they spend in R&D. And at Zoho, we are reverse. And this Pareto principle can be applied in the engineering. So 80% we spend in engineering, only 20% we spend in sales and marketing. That's by design. And the new model is we have a slimmer engineering team and slimmer and sales marketing team. And we pass on this cost cutting, the sales and marketing cost cutting, as a free version. This is a full-blown free version, no lip service. You can see that Zoho has, for small companies, you can get a full free version. And for every app, we provide a free version. So all this cost cutting from different sides, locations, sales and marketing, slimming the sales and marketing, everything is passed on to the customer. And free drives traffic. And traffic is money. And this way, we actually get back those customers. We get back that money. And people say that productivity and affordability cannot go with each other, because if you're affordable, you put very lesser cost your software, which means you cannot be productive. But actually, at Zoho, we are really give a very affordable pricing. At the same time, we are profitable and productive. So that's the quick thing about sales and marketing. So let's get into the business partners. So these are the team outside us. Even we can control productivity in terms of business partners as well. So choose the right business partner who is as productive as you are. That's important. And we are really, we treat our partners as extended team. And we don't want, we do have big partners, but generally, right, our Zoho partners are small guys. We really onboard small guys. And they are 1 people, 2 people company. Now they have become to 10 people, 12 people company, fully on Zoho. So really they grow with us. And we want it that way. And we treat them with confidence. And we build enduring relationship. We onboard any partners. We say that, hey guys, we are looking for long term. It's not transaction relationship. You buy this and get it and get out. So again, that is part of our culture, and that really drives the productivity. So we treat these partners as extended team. And we provide all this kind of help so that they can grow with us. And not just channel partners. Even your outsourced vendors should be productive. For example, I can give this example. This Made in India campaign, which we launched recently, which you saw, right? The software as a craft video. The concept we got a million views in YouTube. We ran this TV commercial in top channels, NDTV, CNN and all. So from concept to 1 million YouTube views, it took just 3 weeks for us. And the team which did it, the outsourcing company, just 2 people. Just 2 people, company, very humble guys. We took them in conference. We said, hey, we're looking for long-lasting relationship. This is not this thing. And we want you to be more productive, right? You are going to ship this in 3 weeks, straight 3 weeks. And they did an awesome job, right? So it need not be your business partner, it can be an outsourcing company. So that's that part of the design, how we operate. In fact, the guy, the Mexican guy, I've put Fernando, is a 1-person company, right? He does all our case studies. In fact, all the case studies in Zoho.com is done by this guy. He's a Mexican guy who travels around the world, does the case study, and amazing productivity. I haven't seen this guy in person. I asked him to send his photo. And that's what you're going to see tomorrow. So how you can really run your marketing from sitting out here in India, Shankar is going to get deeper into the details. You should not miss that. It's going to be interesting. Because people think that sales and marketing cannot be done from India. So the point is, in fact, picking the productive partners indeed has bearing on your productivity. So you should be really obsessed about each departments which you touch, right? Each department has to be really productive, not just your team alone. And there are a lot of other intangible things which really contribute to productivity. I don't get into so much details, but I just want to touch a few items. Because it's so important, I just say it here. Employee happiness, something which you cannot measure, but contributes tremendously to your productivity. And how you bring in employee happiness? So that's why we have flexible leave options, flexible timing, and we have flat hierarchy, right? We don't basically have too much process. And importantly, we trust the employees more than the process. Of course, we have process in place. Because we need to have process in place, we are guaranteeing SLA to the customers, we have support teams. But beyond process, we put people in front of it. We trust people, we trust our employees. We say them. And that's again the mindset change, right? Companies out there, traditional companies out there in India is like process driven, right? We have this kind of process in place. Even, of course, we have a process, but we trust employees more. And that brings the employee happiness. And we strongly believe that a happy employee is more productive than a stressful employee. If your traffic is giving stress to the employee, then he's not productive, right? So this is all by experience. It's not just read some book. In fact, I haven't read anything on these lines in any books. But this is all from my experience. And loyal workforce. In fact, loyal workforce is so important because randomly people coming into the product and randomly they're going out, right? All this knowledge cannot be transferred immediately. A guy coming and leaving, 20% attrition in the market. I cannot believe I can run a product team with 20% attrition. I would rather do not attempt it, right? That's the industry standard. In fact, we are probably 1/3 or even lesser than that in terms of attrition. And there's an interesting thing about when I talk about loyalty, right? So the trend happening in US is, so our Indians are being really admired for loyalty because our fathers and grandfathers are more loyal people. They start their career in one company and they retired from the same company, right? So it's there in our genes. So we guys are loyal. And the trend happening in the US is people are preferring Indians. You could see that happening. Forget about Satyas and Sundar Pichais, right? Even the mid-level management, Indians are elevated, and actually they are importing Indians because of this loyalty. They're actually importing Indians. And we don't have to import Indians because we have a lot of people out here. So, and our attrition, so we need to really, 20% attrition, you cannot run a company. Rather, you don't run that company, right? It's unmanageable. I cannot even think about managing a 20% attrition in my team, right? And collaboration. This is really, really important because when we are 2,500 people, you need to have a collaboration within the team, across the teams, and at the organization level, you need to have collaboration, right? So you have collaboration at different level. Of course, face-to-face meeting cannot replace any collaboration tools, of course, but you cannot have a face-to-face meeting when you have a bigger team. Smaller team, it's okay. So which means we need to have a right set of collaboration tools which can really drive your teams or drive your organization. At Zoho, we have been consuming all our tools. None of the tools are outside Zoho. In fact, I can boldly 100% say that none of the tools are outside Zoho in terms of, so we use Zoho Connect tool, which is indispensable for us. In fact, all the employees in the company will have two tabs in the browser. One is the Zoho Mail, another one is Zoho Connect. Okay, so which means all the collaboration, okay, it breaks the barrier, all the collaboration, everything happens in the tool. So you need to have right set of collaboration tools, making sure the information flows uniformly to all the employees. The transparency, right? This and all is intangible things. I cannot measure how much Zoho Connect had impact on the Zoho's productivity. It could be few millions. If I ask an MBA guy to come and do a project, he will give me an Excel spreadsheet, saying that, hey guys, you saved 5 or 10 million as using Zoho Connect. But this is an intangible thing. So you need to really figure out what really works for you, right? So that's about the productivity in all departments. You can have productivity in all departments, not just on a location, which is biggest driver, sales and marketing, operation. Everywhere you can have productivity. And the result of productivity is, by the way, that red carpet is not for us, it's for the customers. So you do all these things, you can really get customers, because customers are king, you can really onboard a customers easily. And the result of productivity is Zoho is operating in a business operating system. Since we are productive, we are able to churn out these, we are able to develop and deliver these kind of products. And this gives a nutshell of, I'll take just 30 seconds. Okay, I don't want to pitch Zoho here. So we have products for all the employees. We have Zoho Mail, we have Docs, Office Suite. And for each department, we have a Zoho software. So for marketing department, we have campaign survey. For sales department, we have a CRM contact manager. For support department, we have customer support. For finance department, we have books, invoice. And for HR department, we have people and recruit. And in fact, we have a lot of other 30 applications which will fit into each department. And if you don't find any out-of-the-box application from Zoho, we have something called Zoho Creator, which Sridhar mentioned in this thing as a platform. So you don't get any out-of-the-box application, use the Zoho Creator, build any custom application. So pretty much we really cover the spectrum. You can run your business on top of Zoho. We call it as business operating system. That's where we are really heading towards. And with that note, let me say the thing. Zoho is productive, but we know that we have to keep improving because we are not there at the Google level kind of thing. So we know that, but definitely we are far, far better than any services company out there in terms of productivity. And we want to move there. With that, I'll finish my presentation. Thank you.